Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Floppy Action here on KSR. This is our basketball breakdown show. We are on episode number 6 now. Got myself, Zach Gagan, the phone is ringing. Brandon Ramsey, several years of coaching experience. Talented KSR videographer, Stephen Peak there. We are in between the end of the regular season, the beginning of the SEC tournament. It is Tuesday as we are recording this. Kentucky obviously plays Friday night against the winner of Ole Miss and Texas A&M, but we're not really going to jump too far ahead and get into that. What we're going to do first is touch on some things that went right in that Tennessee win, particularly on defense. Brandon has queued up a bunch of clips from us that I'm sure he's watched that game probably 3 or 4 times. Probably
it was a fun one, yeah.
Probably not as many as Steven, though, actually. I bet Steven's probably watched that game more than
Steven's probably been watching like the game from 2009
or
something.
You're probably right.
Jody Meeks.
Well, yeah, I mean, Reeves and Reed pretty much had the Jody Meeks total with 27.
Yeah, went halves on it.
So, they decided to split it just for you there, Steven. But let's get back on track for a second. So we're going to focus on the defense from the Tennessee game. And then Brandon has some clips from kind of focusing on Justin, DJ, just how they've come alive here. Yeah, broke through, whatever weird phrase you want to say, how they've just kind of have stepped their game up, especially over the last, 4 or 5 weeks. Justin in particular has probably been about a 5-week run now that he's playing really well. DJ probably about a 2 or 3 week run once that ankle has started behaving for him. So we're just going to dive through those, and this will probably be a rather quick breakdown compared to our other ones.
We say that now. We'll see how it goes.
You're probably looking down. It says 36 minutes or something like that.
Right.
But I'm sure we'll do some stuff at the SEC tournament. I'm going to be there with Steven all week, so we'll see if we get anything done with that. But in the meantime, this is what we're going to focus on now, and we will We will dive straight into our first play. We're going back to the Arkansas win. This is 2 weeks ago now, I think?
At least, yeah.
A little bit ago, but this was kind of when DJ was starting to get in his rhythm. Justin had already been in his rhythm as well. But we're pretty much just going to set up the play here. I'll kind of set things up and I'll let Brandon dive in. But what we have here is essentially just DJ sets himself at the top here. We have a pin down screen from Aaron that sets up Antonio Reeves to get the ball kind of like just above the nail there. And he draws in 2 defenders that allows DJ to get up a really clean look, pretty much an NBA range 3.
Yeah.
But Brandon, why don't you kind of take us through here? What do you see? What stands out? What made you pick this play?
So, first and foremost, as Zach mentioned off the top, what we really want to do here is pretty simply just kind of give credit to DJ Wagner for how well he has come on here over the last couple of weeks, especially from shooting it from 3-point range. Mm-hmm. And what you see here is what this is the value of having multiple shooters on the floor. And we've talked about it before here on Floppy Action, but we talked about the gravity of Antonio Reeves and how players are just pulled towards him when he has the ball because the defenses are so worried about him as a shooter. And then now this season, so worried about him as a driver with his floater and all that. Just today, as we're recording this, he was named a 3rd-team Sporting News All-American. So
first team SEC again.
First team All-SEC, today. Yeah. So hashtag All-American Antonio is working and coming through. But this is All-American stuff, and he doesn't even score this because as Stephen flips through it here, he's already got 14 points. We just started the second half, and DJ Wagner's defender helps off of him so aggressively. And it's hard to really blame Arkansas for that because even here a couple weeks ago,
he scored probably 2 or 3 times a game. Reeves scores off this exact side.
Yeah. Antonio Reeves scores off of this, and DJ Wagner at the time is barely a 30% 3-point shooter. So you kind of want to help off of him. But now, over these last 3-4 games, he's literally shooting 60% from 3 or something like that. So it's going to become harder and harder for teams to help off of him so aggressively when he can make shots like this. So
deep threes too.
Yeah, these are deep threes, and so that's going to open it back up for Antonio to be one of the best scorers in college basketball. Or they're going to help on that, take away Antonio, and now you have another shooting threat in DJ Wagner.
And you could maybe blame a little bit of Arkansas's defense here. Obviously, they weren't the best team in the world, didn't live up to their expectations, but still a solid team personnel-wise. I thought Aaron Bradshaw does a good job of just rolling to the rim, and he drags his defender with him too. You've got 3 guys guarding Antonio here, and you've also got another guy focused on Aaron. So you've got 3 guys guarding 2 here, and DJ, he really likes to shoot these long threes, and I don't know what I was trying to actually find his percentages real quick before we started this. I don't know what he's shooting from NBA range from 3, but I guarantee he's making just as many as he's missing, even with that line drive shot. But this is a very makeable shot for him. We've seen him make it time and time again now over the last few weeks. So. And then you've just got Justin and Adu. It looks like they're about to set up another play in case Justin doesn't want this. You've got Adu setting a screen. But DJ makes the 3, and just kind of demonstrates how, like you said, having multiple shooters can benefit you. It worked out on this play right here.
Absolutely.
I got a question for you. Why does Antonio? What makes him make the decision to cut inside the 3-point line and not just go
do a
out
curl?
Not just go out to the wing there to catch and shoot?
Yep.
What does he see that makes him not
Right.
want to cut
So I would say really here it's the fact that, I mean, a lot of times he's probably assuming that the defender's going to chase him because that's what you wanted. Like the defender wants to force him into that curl so that he can't shoot the three.
This guy.
Yeah,
right
yeah. So number 12, Tremont Mark there, like he's chasing Antonio Reeves off of that screen. If he would have gone on the other side of Aaron Bradshaw, then that's when he kind of flares it over into this space. But when he chases, then that gets him to curl into that space there. Because you have to think, if DJ's man doesn't help so aggressively as Aaron rolls to the basket, like that's where Antonio can kind of curl this on to like the SEC logo there and shoot that little patented floater. So you're kind of just taking what the defense gives you.
So is this like a split-second thing for Reeves then?
Yeah. He's kind of feeling where that guy is on his hip and reading both his defender and a little bit of Bradshaw's defender there as well, and seeing where they're spaced at and where the space is for him to cut into.
Yeah, and I mean, Arkansas has to come down here and guard him too, because if not, then he
can shoot this, he can drive it, he can lob it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good play.
Good play.
It
worked.
Yeah. Shout out to Cal. All right, play number 2 here. Actually, Steve, I'm gonna just look it up on my phone, or you can play it through if you want.
Yeah. So this is the baseline.
Yeah. I like Z's like rescreen.
Yeah.
That's something Trey Mitchell, we noticed, like he did at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, and Zvonimir's been really good about that. I think probably some of his, overseas European experience has kind of helped him be. He just flows into the offense very well, and he's always kind of trying to do something. He's not one that'll just stand and watch. Like he's always going to set another screen or re-screen in this scenario here. And what we really wanted to talk about here was how effective this little baseline cut has been, both for Aduthiero and then in this clip, Justin Edwards. Obviously, we know how effective Kentucky's guards have been playing off of ball screens this year, whether it's Rob Dillingham, Reed Shepherd. I mean, these are some of the highest assist guys in the SEC, DJ Wagner, all these guys. I mean, Antonio Reeves even has made some really good plays recently off of the dribble. And with the attention that they draw, there are some of those lob attempts. And obviously early in the season, it seemed like we couldn't complete a lob to save our lives. But now, both, as I said, Aduthiero and Justin Edwards in this clip have gotten really effective. As their man steps up to help on the drive, they just slide along the baseline and catch the lob, and the guards have gotten pretty comfortable throwing it up to him.
Well, and it's also just credit to Rob for being such a dynamic scorer that once he gets in the lane here, if Steven will freeze frame it, you've got 4 guys all pinned on him, and you've got Reed Shepherd in the corner. You have to respect him, so he's staying out. So Rob has, he's got a nice floater too, so he can easily take this shot if he wants to. But Justin, this is another thing that I've been harping on with Justin, especially the last 4 or 5 weeks, is he's doing a lot better job of just being active all the time. He's always moving on both ends of the floor, and he's gotten the benefit of a couple of these type of plays where he just happens to be the guy that's moving at the right time. And like we mentioned, I liked how Big Z, he re-screens himself, noticing that Rob is kind of bouncing a different way. Like he wants to set it so Rob can go left, and he realizes that's not the case. So he does a great job of just doing enough there to get his guy off of Rob, and then you've got just the easiest dunk you're going to get. And this is kind of just a no-win option for Arkansas because if you try and guard Justin, you're just going to give Rob a wide-open layup, and he doesn't even have to. Rob does better when his shots aren't clean. He almost does better when they're a little bit more contested. So you can't even almost bank on him missing this shot if he decides to take it himself. But then you've got extra guys out here, shooters, if you need a backup plan or anything. So, I was a big fan of this play too.
Yeah.
Pick some good ones.
They keep working.
Yeah.
They keep working.
And Justin's catch and shoot stats, I don't know what those are, but I imagine that's probably the majority of his threes that he takes are catch and shoot.
Yeah.
And he's gotten just very, very good because he's got a beautiful jump shot. I think I even said that in the last episode. It's very technically sound. I'm not some sort of shot guru or anything, but just from my experience looking and watching basketball, that looks like a guy that is very confident in his jump shot. And this is another play here where just Reeves' gravity draws in a defender that otherwise, probably wouldn't do anything like that. And he's also got a mismatch here on Grant Nelson, right?
Yep.
One of the bigger guys. He was the transfer from North Dakota State, I believe. So you've got a mismatch there, and Reeves just notices it. He takes advantage. He drives in. There's really nothing going on with Reed and Adu. This is basically just Antonio driving and kicking to a guy who's shooting with the utmost confidence right now.
Yeah, and I think two of the things that Zach pointed out are really good here. First of all, Antonio recognizes the mismatch that he has on the opposing 5-man, and then also on one of those previous clips, we showed Antonio Reeves' gravity kind of as a catch and shoot threat when he came off that curl and DJ Wagner helped down so aggressively. Well, here, because this is what has made him an All-American this year, is that he now has gravity off of the dribble too, because he's so good at scoring it from 2-point range. So as he starts to drive this, you see Aaron Estrada step in there pretty heavily into the gap.
He also got 4 eyes.
Yeah.
You could even say all 5 sets of eyes are focused on Antonio Reeves right now.
Absolutely. And then Justin just does a good job of taking 1 or 2 steps, sliding down the wing there. And this is a really confident shot from a kid who would have had every reason to lose his confidence. And that's something that we've talked about a lot, and I think a lot of people have, across KSR and the media and the nation in general, is that Coach Calipari kept rolling with Justin Edwards, probably to the chagrin of a lot of Kentucky fans at times. And every once in a while it turns out that the Hall of Fame coach knows better than the rest of us, and he trusts in these kids at such a high level that it allows them to trust in themselves. And I think that we're reaping the benefits of that, as Justin Edwards is something like 10 for 14 or 10 for 16 over the last 4 or 5 games now from 3-point range. And it's so hard to go from where he was to where he is now, making some of these confident plays. Like Zach said, he's constantly moving now on both sides of the ball. I mean, he's made some really big defensive plays in the last couple of games too. He's rebounding better. He's obviously shooting it better. And he's now looking like that first-round pick that we all expected. And there's a lot of credit. I mean, the majority of the credit always goes to him, but it's also a credit to the coaching staff for not just burying him on the bench like we all kind of wanted to, when now all of a sudden we're going into March and it's like we found this other star player and he was on our own darn team.
Yeah. Shout out to Stacey Shepard, I guess.
Mid-season signing.
Yeah. It's like a trade deadline.
Yeah, and you had Stacey Shepard. The whole thing.
That video was awesome.
With Justin is just, it's like these are his, to get on a side story here, but like that's what you love about college basketball is watching guys like Justin go from to the brink of being in the lowest of lows to now literally over a month now. He's like we said, I think his shooting splits were 30, 20, 70 for the first 20 games, and then over the last 10 they're 60, 50, 80.
Right.
So it's just like it's something that you really don't expect to see, but
it's fun to see when it happens.
It's awesome to see, and it makes you want to cheer for those guys even more. And there's a reason that a lot of us tried not to give up on Justin, because you don't become a 5-star by accident. So there was a reason why, and we're seeing it unfold right now. And my thing with Justin is, I was almost getting to the point where I wanted to see him put together full games. And I mentioned this on Sources Say when I was with Jack the other day, but I'm almost fine with him just putting together all these stretches that he's doing. The 2-3 minute stretches where he just gets hot and he just has moments where he's just catching and shooting, because we're going to see him being active all game long on offense and defense now. So when he can provide 10 points in a matter of 5 minutes, that can change an entire game. And I would not be shocked if Justin helps win Kentucky a game in the SEC tournament or the NCAA tournament.
Absolutely. I mean, and what you just said, I think it'll transition into what we're going to talk about next perfectly, is that I think this Kentucky team, it's all about stretches for them, because they have so many weapons. Like, you don't need one guy to take over a full game necessarily. I mean, Kentucky has guys that do. I mean, Reed Shepard, Rob Dillingham, Antonio Reeves, those guys can take over a game as well as anybody in college basketball, but they also don't have to. So like you can have a game where Antonio Reeves, I mean, heck, we saw it last year, like against Kansas State. Antonio Reeves goes 2 for 19 or whatever, 3-point range. I can tell you right now, and I hope, I'll knock on wood, that ain't happening this year, because he's not going to have to take 19 of them. If he's 2 for 9, then Rob can step up, Reed can step up, and then to transition to the defensive side of things, the defense just has to be good for those stretches too, like we're talking about with Justin Edwards. If he can make 2 threes, that's huge. If Kentucky can get 3 stops in a row, once in the first half and once in the second half, that literally might be enough to just let the offense go win the game. That's what I was preaching that early on, of like, they don't have to be great, they just have to be good enough. And I think we were starting to see more and more flashes of good enough, because if they can just be, to say it again, good enough to let the offense win the game.
I think it was even you that were posting some of the numbers that maybe over the last 2 or 3 weeks, Kentucky's Ken Palm numbers are top 20 offense, top 50 defense.
Yes.
And that's enough.
Yeah. I mean, to finish that point, the numbers are, and this is actually per Bart Torvik, who does kind of the day-to-day. You can kind of search them by periods. But during Kentucky's recent 7-1 stretch, they are something like 18th or 13th, whatever, offensively, and like 49th defensively. But then the really encouraging part for March, this time of year, they are 28th in defensive efficiency in games not played at Rupp Arena. That's 13 games. That's a lot.
Tell me, where do the postseason games happen?
Not at Rupp Arena, none of them. Yeah, we're going to be playing in Nashville, and we're going to play in where the heck ever else, but none of them are going to be in Lexington. And I mean, that's a legitimate sample size. And you also consider, like, Kentucky doesn't play any bad teams away from home because we're not going we're talking about playing mostly the best teams, and we're talking about 13 games played away from Rupp Arena. And they're one of the best defensive teams in the country.
That's
like,
so weird.
Yeah, and like those are the metrics we always talk about. Of like, you have to be top 20 in offense and defense. You have to be top 40 and top 37. Like all those different kind of made up monikers. Like Kentucky fits those in both kind of the more recent stretch of games and away from home. And that's pretty.
The two that matter.
Right. Yeah. So that's pretty darn encouraging.
Okay.
Yeah. So
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's going all the way back to the North Carolina game, the Kansas game, like anything away from home.
Is the lighting in Rupp just better?
Maybe it's the balls.
Yeah. I mean, Steven would say it's the ball. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you could probably sit around and then I think it was they're 177th defensively at Rupp. Which is, I mean, to be 177 at home and 28th on the road is just, it's mind-boggling. It's almost so drastic that there's not, like, that it almost can't even be a real reason for it. Like, it almost, some of it has to just be happenstance.
You almost buy into the idea, that's where you almost buy into okay, maybe they are dogs. These guys Hippos, thank you. Yeah, for correcting me. That was incorrect. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, you've got hippos here. So, they genuinely embrace playing on the road and being in those environments, and maybe that's still kind of a just like an invisible type of a thing you can't feel.
Right.
But maybe that's
sometimes there is less there is sometimes less pressure on the road, especially when you're younger. Like they want to go in here like that. They don't have to. Some of it literally is like they don't have to like listen to their families before the game, telling them how great they are or whatever. Like they're on the road. They kind of there's a more of a general routine, like you have shoot around at a certain time, you have your pregame meal at a certain time. It's just more structured, and I think for certain teams, like you can kind of buy into some of that structure, and like, to go back to the point of like them being hippos, like Rob Dillingham, like I think he would rather stick it to the opposing fan base than than like prove it to his own fan base, and like that's certainly not a bad thing. Like his mentality is like, I want to prove to you I'm the best player in the world. And it's easier to do that at home. It's like everybody's cheering for him at home, but I don't really think Rob Dillingham wants people cheering for him. Yeah. Like I think he wants to go tell everybody, hey, like you all aren't what I am.
Yeah. But he can also score at home too. We have seen. He scored 35 against Tennessee.
We have seen that. All right, let's talk about some defense.
Defense, yes. So we're going to the Tennessee game here. All three clips are from this Tennessee game, and it's not really anything that one thing that you can point to that's actually different. As for my perspective, Brandon might have a different thought, and we'll obviously let him go after this. But I think Kentucky is just being more physical at the point of attack. They're just being stronger. I think playing Ugo in this game was perfect for him. This clearly was not a Big Z game. It clearly was not an Aaron Bradshaw game. This was a game where Tennessee preferred to kind of play in the half court, and they could not get around Ugo whatever UK defender was there. Like Ugo, credit to him, just did a really good job in this game, and he only blocked I think 3 or 4 shots by the time it was all done, but he at least 4 or 5 more. Yeah. Did he deter guys from taking shots entirely in the paint? Yeah. So Brandon, I'll just let you go dive and break down this whole play in general, and then we'll talk from there.
Really, this was like a 30-second clip, and you can just play it from here, Steven. You don't have to go the rest of the play back, but it was as close to perfect execution as you can have. And what was really encouraging is 2 points here at the end. One, Ugo sort of making Zakai Ziegler pick it up as opposed to turning the corner. And like I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, this would have been a right-handed layup at the rim for Zakai Ziegler. Mm-hmm. He would have just came off with no resistance, and he would have gone and laid it up. But Ugo's there to sort of make him take just a half-step hesitation away from the basket. And then watch this close out by Reed Shepherd as the ball gets thrown over there to number 15 Meshack. Like, he stays in, his feet are inside of the three-point line.
Not jumping.
Meshack's not really, he's actually relatively high percentage, but it's like on no volume. I think he's made like 9 3-pointers. He's like 9 for 17 this year or something. It's like he's not going to shoot even open 3-pointers. And that's, again, 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, Reed Sheppard would have flown by him, treating him like he was Steph Curry. Here, he had a little bit of awareness of, oh, this is not a very good shooter. I'm going to close out short and let him drive it into me. And then something we've talked about a lot is getting guys to take non-paint twos. Well, he obviously gets into the paint here, but the point is he's still 8, 10 feet away from the basket, and he's taking a contested 2-point shot. Like I will sign up for this the rest of the season. If guys want to take this shot the rest of the year and Kentucky loses it either in the first round of the championship, I'll tip my hat and say, well, it wasn't our year. But that's just great disciplined defense, some awareness of personnel, which has been a problem this year, and great execution for nearly 30 seconds of the shot clock.
Well, I think it goes back to, I think, the very beginning where you were talking about Ugo making Ziegler pick up his dribble. Like, was that the game plan, you think, was to hedge harder than they had been? Because it feels like just they haven't been. Is this a game-by-game situation where they try and hedge harder against you? I'm sure it's a team-by-team situation, but that they normally don't. It felt like hedge that hard on guys.
Yeah, it's definitely not. They generally play more of that kind of softer drop coverage. I think it did seem like they wanted to be more aggressive because Tennessee doesn't. I know there's nothing that. One thing I've learned on Twitter, I think the thing that people get most mad about is when you give Duke credit. But then secondly is if you give Tennessee any credit. But I will give them a little bit of credit. They have good guards this year. Like Zakai Ziegler is a borderline all-SEC player.
He was SEC Defender of the Year?
Yeah, also SEC Defensive Player of the Year. Santiago Vescovi hasn't had as great of a year this year, but this is has been around for 17 years and has been a productive player for them. He can shoot it, he can drive it, he's a good passer. Obviously, Dalton Connect is an All-American. Like, if you let those guys come off with space, it's going to be a problem. So I think they did want to be more aggressive at the point of attack to not let them dice you up both as a playmaker and as scorers. And yeah, just that half step to a full step that Ugo's up a little bit farther, I think makes the difference. I mean, you can see, like, just having his hands out there and having his foot out there, that made Ziegler retreat ever so slightly, and that makes the defensive possession.
Can I tell you something Cal said from the bench?
Yes.
Since I was sitting on
Please.
the bench, basically. Cal got, I think this was the second half, Cal told the guys on the bench, when you come in, we're up and we're trapping. We're up
there we
and
go.
we're trapping. So that was clearly the strategy against Tennessee. Maybe not, like you said, trying to cut off. And Ziegler, he hit a couple threes that game.
He had
4.
He had 17 in the first game they played.
Yeah.
They're 20-something in the first
Yeah,
game.
he had 26 the first time.
Yeah, I think he had 17 in this game.
Right.
So he was still, he's
still effective, but it's nearly 30 seconds of a pretty darn good defensive possession here.
You've got, if we can go back a little bit too, Stephen, another thing I just kind of noticed while I was watching here is Reed doesn't overreact to anything that's going on. Like,
right.
He could probably try and, I think this is perfect here where he is. He's
perfect.
Just enough to where he's,
and then retreats quickly.
Yeah, making Ziegler not want to make that pass, but he's not too far in or too far out.
As soon as he picks it up there, he's back to his man.
There, yeah. And then, of course, you've just got someone just on Connect at all times. And that was kind of, that was the game plan, was they want to make Connect beat you. And or let Connect beat you. If someone else from Tennessee gets hot, that's fine. That's why they were perfectly content, I'm sure, with a paint shot from this guy right here, who
Meshack
obviously missed the shot. And we saw how all of it played. I think Tennessee shot 25% on non-Dalton Connect shots in that game.
Jeez.
26.
Wow. I like that stat.
So that's how you lose a game.
That is.
All right, next defensive play.
Another one.
I'll say there's a lot of movement from Tennessee. Not at this moment with Tennessee, but just earlier on in the shot clock.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Moving along.
Yes, and it's something that Tennessee does really well offensively. Like they keep you very spread out, and there's constant ball movement, player movement, screening. That's why they're a top 20 offense in the country.
Well, there was a couple times on that defensive possession where, that's a ballsy shot. But there's a couple times where even Justin kind of gets into a miscommunication when he's switching.
Yep.
But they are scrambling.
Right.
They're connected enough while they're scrambling right here.
Right. Yes.
Where you've looked
great.
Antonio noticed, he was able to tag his guy. He ran back. Like, everyone is connected. Everyone's paying
Yeah.
attention is, I think, the main thing. That was,
ran through 2 picks. It's probably confusing,
yeah,
right?
two months ago, this is kind of what this is the only thing we were talking about, was how Kentucky was just not paying attention like they should have been. Here they clearly are. You've got, like, there's almost a miscommunication. There kind of is a miscommunication on the switch.
A little
but
bit.
Antonio has enough of the awareness to step in, giving Adu enough time to come back in, and then he just jets back out to the shooter and makes that, because that's a tough pass for Connect to make, to skip it all the way over there.
Right.
And so that gives him enough time to recover. So just really good scrambling defense overall from Kentucky. And you've got Ugo out here guarding the
Best player, one of the best offensive players in the country. And as we're frozen right here, I think it was the last episode when we had a little bit of Ramsey vocab time. And I taught him
another word.
Well, no, we're just going to revisit it. Like we talked about the difference between talking and communicating. You can use it in your relationships. Like your girlfriend will like when you tell her that we're going to start communicating and not just talking, and all that good stuff. But
life lessons with Brandon Ramsey too.
This is what communication looks like. It's like right now you can see Justin Edwards pointing. Well, Adufio doesn't really pick up on that, but Antonio Reeves, the 5th-year senior, does. And he slides over. He could have just had Adu come out here and take Vescovi if he needed to, but he sees the ball coming because he's the one that can see everything being that deep, and he's able to cover both Jonas Adu at the rim and get back out to Vescovi. So having those guys communicate what almost ends up being like a 3-way switch within each other, like that's just really high-level awareness, communication, execution, and that's stuff that you hope to see that in game 31 of the season. And like as recently as a few weeks ago, we still weren't really seeing it, but you're starting to see some of that. And then, what Ugo did out on the perimeter is excellent.
The reason that Vescovi can't get this shot off is because Ugo is guarding Connect. And this is still a tough, but even if Connect puts this right in the numbers, Vescovi can probably shoot it. But he has to throw the ball over Ugo. Vescovi has to rise up and catch the ball, and that gives Reeves plenty enough time to not only stunt at him, but he doesn't overreact and maybe try and fall for a pump fake or anything. He stays in front, does a great job, and then as the situation or as the possession plays out, this is just great defense right here. Like you've got a guy stuck in, like there's nowhere for him right here. Right. Justin almost gets kind of beat there, but your
recovers
Reeves
quickly.
Is so much up in his face. You've got Reed is there too. It's just it just seems more connected and more fluid overall.
And then let it play to the end when Reed Shepherd does Reed Shepherd things.
And then Reed Shepherd does his, how the hell did he just do that?
Yeah, just jumps the
and
pass
again,
lane.
Ugo back out.
Yeah, again, that length makes a difference.
And you've got Reed cheating in. Like they were fully prepared to double Dalton here if he was going to drive in. And
got to make him give it up. He's not nearly as good of a passer.
And that, like I said, that was Kentucky's goal. They said, well, I guess I contradict myself a little there. I'll let Steven edit this part out so I don't sound dumb.
Say it again. What was it?
But anyway, we'll just edit there.
And
Reed's great play here.
And then Reed Shepherd's just incredible in the passing lanes like that.
Yeah.
All right, last but not least.
Can you run up to that? I think I can see it. Just make sure there's a red box, a red outline around.
Yeah, so this last play here is what it should feel like to play against Kentucky. Like you can almost feel how hard it is to score at the rim for Tennessee in this game. And they really struggled from 2-point range. Zach just pointed out the stat of them shooting like 26% on non-Dalton Connect shots. And you have 3 different guys essentially block a shot on this one possession. You have Ugan Onyenso gets vertical. He's being 7 feet tall and stops number 30 James at the rim.
Straight up.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing is Ugo is very good about
perfect verticality. And then Adu, being the freak athlete that he is, comes in and just absolutely beats this into the ground.
He loves to do that.
He loves to do it. And then Jonas Adu gets it. And then Justin Edwards gets the block here as well. So I mean, you have essentially 3 block shots in the span of 4 or 5 seconds. Mm-hmm. And again, like you can just feel how frustrating that must be of like, goodness gracious, like how do you score at the rim on these guys? And I think Kentucky now on Ken Palm is up to 3rd in the country in block shot percentage. And again, they're not great defensively. Still, they played well, especially in the first half defensively against Tennessee. It took us some slippage in the second half, but it was perfectly like what I was talking about earlier, where the defense was good enough to let the offense win the game. The defense was excellent for a half, Kentucky was winning by 4 points at the half. Then at that point, all you have to do is score because you're up by 4. And what can,
If we're being real, Kentucky was up by 10 with 55 seconds left in this game, and then just
yeah, and then
11.
11, yeah,
nearly
and then
screwed it down the stretch there. So this, it's a 4-point win for Kentucky, but it really should have been closer to an 85-75 situation.
Yeah.
Right.
85
Yeah. But yeah, I just really love this possession because of how athletic Kentucky looks, how physical they were around the basket, and being able to block shots like that. It's what we all wanted it to be at the beginning of the season when we all were waiting for the 7-footers to come back. It's like, well, yeah, we have these defensive issues, but wait until we get the 7-footers back. They're going to cover up a lot of the mistakes. Well, when you're third in the
foolish we were.
well, we were definitely foolish for a while, and to some extent we still probably were. But when you're third in the country in block percentage, like, well, that matters, and you can start to see some of the effects of that when you have Ugo and these guys that do also in there. Justin Edwards getting a block shot there, where you have so many athletic guys around the rim, where it does become harder for teams, even if they beat you off the dribble, it's harder for them to actually score.
You've been around basketball for a long time. How many times have you seen a guy play 30 minutes and not take a shot and be as effective as Ugo was?
It doesn't happen very often.
Patrick Beverly stuff.
Yeah, I absolutely loved that. And like, I think that, I mean, we saw it a little bit from Adu Thiero too. Like, Adu's able to do things offensively, obviously, that Ugo can't, because Adu's gotten very good at driving it and passing it out to the other very talented players. But like, those two guys had real impacts on this game. They took 2 combined shots. They're rebounding, they're getting steals, they're blocking shots. And that's so valuable because, let's be honest, both of those guys do great things for Kentucky. But yeah, they don't need to score, because anytime they take a shot, it means one of the other guys isn't taking a shot. And that's, again, not to take anything away from them, but these other guys are so high percentage. Like, how do you not want Kentucky's guards taking every shot humanly possible?
Well, and especially now you can rely on Justin
and DJ. Yeah, so you're having other guys step up, so you don't need them to carry a burden offensively. It's like, just go be great defensively, rebound, block shots, and your 2 field goal attempts, like that's what makes Kentucky so dangerous, is they're able to have those guys in there still being valuable players without having to do anything offensively.
One thing from here that I thought was good, is as I've now watched it 30 times in the last 5 seconds, is that even though it seems like they have 10 eyes on the basketball again, Antonio Reeves does look like he's going to go out and get connect here if this guy was to turn and kick. So I think he noticed, so you can see him there kind of move out to guard. So I think he recognized, oh shit, Dalton Connect. Right. We probably should be on him. So he does make, but there was the moment here where there were just 5 guys, and maybe it's just a case of like it's a loose ball now at this point.
Right. Yeah.
You do all want to kind of.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, you could also take it as like, if Antonio doesn't get in there a little bit and it ends up being a loose ball, then you're all mad at him for like, well, hey, it's a 50-50 ball, you got to get in there. So I mean, in that situation, it's tough when it's kind of a scramble situation. But yes, I agree. I love, because.
And same thing, Wagner doesn't get this ball if he stays on his guy.
Right. Yeah. But from Antonio's standpoint, you should have some, like, when you see a player like Dalton Connect alone on the 3-point line, there should be fear. Like, you should be like, oh my, like something went terribly wrong, I need to go get him. So I like that little move at the end, and let these tall athletic dudes deal with getting the ball at the rim.
All right, we will shut down this episode by doing a little round table discussion here of
square table,
of talking about Kentucky's front court rotation and kind of how we think that, or maybe we see that playing out going into the postseason, because as we've seen over the last pretty much 2 or 3 weeks, all 3 of these guys can come in, and by all 3 I mean Aaron Bradshaw, Ugonna Onyenso, and Zvonimir Ivisic. All 3 of those guys can come in and make impacts in different ways in different games. And we've seen that play out over the last couple of weeks, and even if it's in small spurts, like someone like Aaron Bradshaw. So I'll start with you, Brandon. Where do you see, actually, maybe we should do it like this. How many minutes per game do you see these 3 averaging over the 2 postseasons coming up, postseason tournaments?
All right, well, I'm going to pull a Coach Calipari, and I'm going to not answer the question that Zach asked me, but I'm going to answer the question that I want to ask myself.
That's fine.
And
works for him.
But to me, and it somewhat joking there, but like I think it's actually impossible to answer that question, because
game by game.
Yeah, it's not an amount of minutes for each game. It's an amount of minutes for a certain opponent, and I'm honestly not even 100% sure who those opponents are. Like, I do think that Onyenso has proven to be a little bit better against a more physical team. I still don't think, like, Ugonna Onyenso is still not exactly like a bruiser down low, but I think he gives you a little bit more physicality than some of the other guys. Obviously, if you need an offensive punch, then Zvonimir Ivicic is going to be your option. Aaron Bradshaw is probably a little bit of a blend of the two. And I think that we've seen it probably just over the course of the last 3 or 4 weeks. There's been a game where we've all gone on KS Board or we've gone on Twitter or subscribe to all those things.
Not Twitter. Subscribe there.
But I think you're going to have games where Ugan Onyenso plays 28 minutes. You're probably going to have a game where Zvonimir Ivicic plays 28 minutes. I don't know if Aaron Bradshaw would ever get to 28 minutes, but
he's number 3 in the pecking order. I think he's probably third, just because he doesn't have the discernible elite skill that the other two. Ugan Onyenso has an elite defensive skill. Zvonimir Ivicic has an elite offensive skill. Again, Aaron Bradshaw has had some excellent games, but it's just harder to necessarily pinpoint what game fits for him, other than him just happening to play really well one game. So I think we're going to continue to see them rotate minutes, which again, that's a great problem to have, where you have 3 guys, you can throw them all out there, see which one plays well and then roll with them. The next question is, would you rather have 3 guys that can all kind of soak up the minutes and one of them isn't kind of the dominant primary guy each game?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what Cal has been doing, and I think what he said before is like it's good to have these options, and it's like one guy's not bringing it today. He told Trey Mitchell on the bench during the Tennessee game. He said, "I need you today. I need you." And you know, Trey's been recovering from injuries, and I would say this that we talked about the baseball analogy. I don't use other sport analogies, but if you asked a baseball manager, if you told a baseball manager you didn't have to bat on 9 guys, you would just bat 1 through 4, right? So I like the idea of you have 4 guys on the floor almost every time that are elite scorers. I'm fine with running Ugana because I think Z does give you a lot more offensively, but I'm not sure that you need it ever. As long as you're getting from Justin the ability to catch and shoot, I'm cool with running Ugana out there for shot blocking and for rebounding. Out of all 3, I think Aaron Bradshaw might have the best hands. But
he probably does.
That's
but
fair.
He's also, like you said, he's the 3rd in the pecking order. So I think you just deal with Ugana's deficiencies. I'll be honest, I was not Team Ugana early in the season, and that's kind of changed. And then this game really changed my mind more than any, obviously, just because his impact while not stealing shots from the other guys on the floor.
And to me, to kind of bring this episode a little bit full circle, I think, is the reason that you're able to allow Ugana to do what he's doing is because Justin and DJ have stepped up. Because it used to be think about the starting lineup that made us all so mad for a month. Well, it was because DJ Wagner, Justin Edwards, and Ugana Onyenso were all on the court at the same time and can't shoot. Well, now, guess what? Only one of those guys can't shoot now. And so now all of a sudden, it's the same darn people, but all of a sudden, it fits so much better because 2 of those guys have gone from bad shooters to really good shooters over the course of the last month. So now you can get away with playing Ugana Onyenso the majority of the minutes because he's not clogging it up in the same way that he was, even with the exact same personnel, because you're having those guys shoot better. So Ugana can be more valuable because DJ and Justin are playing so well.
And if Ugana gets a rebound that close to the basket again, just go up. There's no need to pass it back out. Just go up.
That's true.
But I'm totally for that. I do like that there seems like there's going to be a rotation of those 3 guys. If somebody picks up a second foul,
I think Ugo will continue to start.
And
he'll ride that, and then he'll play. Cal will play it, like you said. The first half will almost be a tryout for the second half. Of who is actually ready to bring
who fits in the best that game.
Who fits in the best, and it really will just be a game by game. For fast games that maybe aren't physical at all, that's a game that maybe Aaron plays. For fast games that are physical, maybe that's where you bring in Z. For slow games where it's physical, you bring in Ugo. You have different options. You're probably not going to get the exact same production out of each guy, but you're not going to feel like you have to be reliant on one guy playing not necessarily out of position, but in a bad situation for him.
What I've loved is that Aaron Bradshaw played 2 minutes, and he was the first guy up off the bench after every made 3,
and he usually
every
is.
block.
He's
celebrating just like all the other guys.
You don't have to worry about Aaron's with
all 3 of those guys
with his ego or anything, and that's probably honestly one of the bigger parts of this whole thing. Is that
there could have been a situation where we were forced
Aaron will
to
not
play
be sulking. What was the game? Was it the Alabama game where he came off the bench and played really well, or was it Arkansas? Maybe it was
a red team.
Yeah, it was one of the red teams from the South.
Very recent game.
Yeah.
It might have been Arkansas, I think, but he came off the bench and literally played 5, 6, 7 minutes. Had 12 points, 5 rebounds. Like you just need, but the mindset of being able to just be like, all right, I'm ready. I know that my minutes have just vanished. Like I was the guy for like 2 weeks when he came back from his foot surgery. He had the big game against Penn.
Florida.
Yeah, he had the big shot against Florida, and then it just kind of evaporated for him. And a lot of guys can easily just bottle up, and that can crush their season. But to Aaron's credit, he's just very mentally strong, and he's been able to handle it. And he's ready the second he comes off the bench. He might still do this whenever he's defending a guy in the paint, but he's ready to play, and I think that's a very underrated part of that. So.
Absolutely.
Boys, I think we're done here.
9 more games.
9 more games. We don't really have a plan for how we're going to do floppy action, but I'm sure at the very minimum we will do an in-between SEC tournament and NCAA tournament, and kind of see what me and Steven see in Nashville. Brandon will not be there with us, but we'll be getting firsthand looks, so we'll be able to. Steven will probably be able to put up some nice in-game footage up here from the actual game, maybe.
We can't shoot anything inside.
Sorry, actually,
boo SEC.
I didn't say anything. Actually, sorry.
SEC and NCAA, they don't let us take any video from inside the arena, which is crazy when you think about all the people with their phones who are taking video from inside the arena during the game.
Yeah.
So.
But he digresses, and so do we. So we are going to wrap this up here. We will see you all soon. Like, comment, follow, subscribe, do all the things. We'll see you soon.